I'm David Costa from the Schreiber Public Library, and today I'll be reading you this week's edition of the Terrace Bay Schreiber News. Ontario releases its budget for 2022. This budget supports a plan for better jobs and bigger paychecks, building highways, transit and hospitals, and lower costs for families. Today, Minister of Finance Peter Bethlenfalvy released the 2022 budget. Ontario's plan to build has 5 pillars: rebuilding Ontario's economy, working for workers, building highways and key infrastructure, keeping costs down, a plan to stay open. The government's plan will seize the opportunities in critical minerals, batteries and electric and hybrid vehicle manufacturing, help deliver better jobs and bigger paychecks for workers, help keep costs down for families, and get shovels in the ground for highways, transit, hospitals, and other key infrastructures. Supported by a plan to stay open, the government is building Ontario. The people of Ontario deserve a government that has a real plan to build, said Minister Bethlenfalvy. Our government's budget is Premier Ford's vision and our plan to cut through the excuses and act right away on the priorities of the people of Ontario. The 2022 budget continues the government's track record of strong fiscal management. The plan includes increases to base program spending at an average annual rate of about 5% over the next 3 years. The budget also presents a recovery plan that will eliminate Ontario's deficit 2 years earlier than projected in the 2021 budget. Our government has a plan, and that plan is working, said Minister Bethlenfalvy. But the work is not over and the job is not done. We are ready to get it done for the people of Ontario. Rebuilding Ontario's economy is the first pillar of the government's plan. While Ontario lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs between 2004 and 2018, the government has a plan to help create jobs and build prosperity everywhere for everyone. Seizing Ontario's critical minerals opportunity begins in the north. Critical minerals will become part of the future of clean steel, batteries, and hybrid and electric vehicles as the next generation of automobiles are built in Ontario, by Ontario workers and sold across North America and the world. The government's plan includes up to $1 billion for legacy infrastructure, such as all-season roads to the Ring of Fire, building the corridor to prosperity. The plan is also supported by a critical minerals strategy and $2 million in 2022, 2023, and $3 million in 2023 and 2024 to create a critical minerals innovation fund, helping create good manufacturing jobs as Ontario becomes a North American leader in building the vehicles of the future. As of early April 2022, Ontario has seen more than $12 billion in new investments for vehicle production mandates and battery manufacturing over the past 18 months. Ontario is also supporting investments to help make the province a world-leading producer of clean, low-emission steel to help build automobiles in the province. Working to bring jobs at provincial agencies to communities across Ontario to help spur economic growth. This begins with exploring the relocation of the headquarters of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board to London, working in close partnership with the agency and other partners, and identifying Main Street communities to headquarter new government agencies. Investing nearly $107 million over the next 3 years to help the province compete with jurisdictions in a global race to develop and own critical technologies. Nearly $4 billion to support high-speed internet access to every community in Ontario by the end of 2025. Working for workers is the second pillar of the government's plan. Ontario workers deserve a government that works as hard as they do for Ontario. That's why the government has a plan to support better jobs and bigger paychecks. Highlights include increasing the general minimum wage to $15.50 per hour on October 1st, 2022, while guaranteeing digital platform workers the general minimum wage and new First in Canada protections. Investing $1 billion annually in employment and training programs to help people retrain and upgrade their skills as the province continues to support better jobs and opportunities for Ontario workers. Investing an additional $114.4 million over 3 years in its skilled trade strategy to break the stigma associated with the skilled trades and simplify the system. expanding college degree granting to help build a pipeline of job-ready graduates in applied fields and allow students to gain the education, experience, and skills to enter the workforce faster. Providing $268.5 million over 3 years in additional funding through Employment Ontario to strengthen the government's skills training and employment programs, including pandemic recovery initiatives. Relaunching the second career program as Better Jobs Ontario to support a larger, more diverse range of Ontario workers with $5 million in new funding in 2022 to 2023, in addition to the nearly $200 million invested over the last 3 years. Better Jobs Ontario helps laid-off unemployed workers access the training they need to become qualified for in-demand, well-paying jobs and connects local employers with the high-skilled workers they need. Attracting newcomers with a plan that includes an additional $15.1 million over 3 years in the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, which nominates applicants for permanent residents who have the skills and experience that match Ontario's labour market needs. Building highways and key infrastructure is the third pillar in the government's plan. For too long, the people of Ontario have been stuck in gridlock with thousands of hours wasted on packed trains or behind the wheel in bumper-to-bumper traffic, costing billions to the province economy. This has to change. The government is getting shovels in the ground to build highways, transit, and other infrastructure projects to fight gridlock, boost the economy, and create jobs. More highlights include planning one of the most ambitious capital plans in the province's history, with planned investments over the next 10 years totaling $158.8 billion, including $20 billion in 2022 to 2023. Investing $25.1 billion over the next 10 years to support the planning and construction of highway projects across the province, including building Highway 413, building the Bradford Bypass, the first steps to enable the future widening of Highway 401, improving the QEW Garden City Skyway, continuing the next phase of construction for the new Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph, reconstructing Highway 101, the Timmins Connecting Link, investing $61.6 billion over 10 years for public transit, including breaking ground on the Ontario Line, advancing planning work for the Shepherd Subway Extension, planning and design work for the Eglinton Crosstown West Extension to Toronto Pearson International Airport, the Bowmanville GO Rail Extension, weekday GO Rail trips between London and Union Station in Toronto, passenger rail service to northeastern Ontario, investing about $14 billion in capital grants over the next 10 years to build and renew schools and childcare spaces. See a capital plan for Building Ontario for further details. Keeping costs down is the fourth pillar in the government's plan. When costs go up, it has a direct impact on families, seniors, workers, and the economy. That's why the government has a plan to help keep costs down by increasing housing supply, making it less expensive to drive or take transit, and by providing relief on everything from childcare to taxes. Highlights include implementing a long-term plan to address the housing crisis informed by the Housing Affordability Task Force's recommendations. This includes supporting the creation of all types of housing by speeding up approvals to get more shovels in the ground faster, prioritizing Ontario home buyers over foreign speculators, cracking down on unethical developers, and committing to introduce a housing supply action plan every year for the next 4 years. Making it less expensive to drive by eliminating and refunding license plate renewal fees for passenger vehicles, light-duty trucks, motorcycles, and mopeds, cutting the gas tax by 5.7 cents per liter for 6 months beginning July 1st, 2022, and removing tolls on Highway 418 and 412. Proposing to provide an additional $300 in personal income tax relief, on average to about 1.1 million taxpayers by enhancing the low-income individuals and families tax credit. Lowering childcare fees for parents and securing a fair deal for Ontario by signing a $13.2 billion agreement with the federal government in an important step towards achieving an average of $10 a day childcare by September 2025. A plan to stay open is the fifth pillar in the government's plan. With more than 32 million vaccine doses administered and more than 90% of people aged 12 and over fully vaccinated, Ontario has fared better than many jurisdictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. The province has cautiously lifted restrictions and the economy is recovering. To meet the challenges that may lie ahead, the government is making significant investments in its plan to stay open. More highlights include expanding Ontario's healthcare workforce by launching the new Learn and Stay grant for up to 2,500 eligible post-secondary students who enrolled in priority programs such as nursing and work in underserved communities in the region where they studied after graduation. Helping retain nurses across the health sector and stabilize the current nursing workforce by investing $764 million over 2 years to provide Ontario's nurses with a retention incentive of up to $5,000 per person. Building on the 8,600 healthcare workers added to the system since March 2020, investing $230 million in 2022 to 2023 to enhance healthcare capacity. Investing $42.5 million over 2 years, beginning in 2023 to 2024, to support the expansion of 160 undergraduate and 295 postgraduate positions, including at the new medical schools in Brampton and Scarborough. Shoring up domestic production of critical supplies and ensuring Ontario is prepared for future emergencies by committing, as of April 2022, more than $77 million of the Ontario Together Fund to leverage almost $230 million in investments to support manufacturing of Ontario-made personal protective equipment. Embracing the opportunity to become a global hub for biomanufacturing and life sciences and making a strategic investment of $15 million over 3 years in a new life sciences innovation program to develop and scale up the commercial potential of therapeutic and medical and digital technologies. Building and improving hospitals by investing more than $40 billion over the next 10 years in hospital and healthcare infrastructure, supporting more than 50 major hospital projects that would add 3,000 new beds over 10 years. Making historic investments in hospitals with an additional $3.3 billion in 2022 to 2023, bringing the total additional investment in hospitals to $8.8 billion since 2018 and 2019. The government is also investing $3.5 billion over 3 years to support the continuation of over 3,000 hospital beds put in place during the pandemic and $1.1 billion over 3 years to support the continuation of hundreds of new adult, pediatric, and neonatal critical care beds added during COVID-19. Making additional investments in home care by planning to invest up to an additional $1 billion over the next 3 years. The government is also proposing a new refundable Ontario Seniors Care at-home tax credit to help seniors age 70 and older with eligible home care medical expenses to help people stay in their homes longer. Ontario expanding the McCausland Hospital Emergency Department. $1 million provincial investment will redevelop infrastructure and expand emergency health services for local families. As part of its plan to stay open, the Ontario government is investing $1 million to modernize and expand North of Superior Healthcare Group's McCausland Hospital site. This investment will support early planning for the hospital redevelopment, which will enhance emergency services and upgrade aging infrastructure. This will improve access to care for patients and their families in Terrace Bay and the surrounding communities as the province continues to build a stronger, more resilient healthcare system that is better prepared to respond to crisis. Expanding and redeveloping North of Superior Healthcare's McCausland Hospital is a key part of the government's plan to build a stronger, more resilient healthcare system and stay open, said Christine Elliott, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health. This investment will ensure the hospital can better address the needs of local families and provide much-needed services in the community for many years to come. The current McCausland Hospital, which was built over 40 years ago, provides healthcare services to a growing population of approximately 4,000 residents in the communities of Terrace Bay, Schreiber, Rossport, Jackfish, and Pays Plat. As part of the redevelopment, the hospital is planning to renovate the emergency department to improve the quality, efficiency, and privacy of emergency care. This redevelopment will also better support collaboration with healthcare partners to provide high quality care to the communities it serves by integrating health services and programs. Local families will be able to look forward to a combination of renovated facilities and new construction that will improve access to outpatient and emergency services. Every person in Ontario is entitled to modern, efficient, high quality healthcare, said Greg Rickford, Minister of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources, and Forestry. That's why our government is investing $1 million to help expand and modernize north of Superior Healthcare Group's McCausland Hospital site. Once renovations and the expansion are complete, patients from Terrace Bay to Pace Plat will have access to an enhanced, integrated healthcare service as well as better hospital emergency and outpatient services. Ontario is working with North of Superior Healthcare Group on the early stages of the planning process, which include identifying programming, operational and space requirements, and assessing how the project can further help address the healthcare needs of patients and families in the region. The North of Superior Healthcare Group is very appreciative of the Ontario government's support, which will allow us to ensure the sustainability of high-quality healthcare services in the Terrace Bay catchment area for decades to come, said Aileen McGrath-Urban, Chair of the Board of Directors North of Superior Healthcare Group. We are committed to supporting the healthcare needs of our patients, residents, and their families through this exciting redevelopment project as we pursue our vision of healthcare communities. You can purchase subscriptions online and access digital content by going to www.tbsnews.ca. Driver nabbed for stunt driving 190 km per hour in a 90 km per hour zone. On April 27, 2022, at approximately 7:09 p.m., an officer of the Traffic Incident Management and Enforcement Team of the Ontario Provincial Police was conducting radar patrol on Highway 1117 west of Nipigon, Ontario. The officer observed a westbound motor vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed. The radar confirmed the vehicle speed to be in excess of 190 km/h in the 90 km/h zone. As a result, Mohammed Hamza Aslam, age 25 of Calgary, Alberta, was issued a court summons for stunt driving contrary to Section 172 of the Highway Traffic Act. The driver received a 30-day driver's license suspension and is scheduled to appear in Nipigon Court in June of 2022. The vehicle, a 2019 Hyundai Elantra, was impounded for 14 days. Be sure to check out the community calendar in this week's edition of the Terrace Bay Schreiber News. Here's a story from the May 2000 edition of the Terrace Bay Schreiber News. Dom Fellain is hopeful for a win in Argentina. Dominic Fellain was home in Schreiber for a short visit last week before heading back to Toronto for more training. It will be necessary to win gold in his next light flyweight tournament in Buenos Aires, Argentina on May 27, 2000 to qualify for the Olympic Games in Australia this September. Hoping to qualify for the Olympics in Mexico, Dom lost his last fight to world champion Brian Valario. Admitting that this may be his last kick at the can as far as his boxing career is concerned, Dom said he has no regrets. It's been a long and rewarding career. I've traveled all over the world and met a lot of interesting and wonderful people. Nobody could ask for more. Dom said he is still hopeful for a win in Argentina. It would be nice to end my career competing in the Olympics in Australia. All I can do is my best. Dom will be home again on May 11th or 12th to attend a stag and doe in his and fiancée Kim Renette's honor. The wedding will take place this summer. A TVO production crew will be in Schreiber on May 12th as well to do a film session with Dominic. Thank you for watching this week's edition of the Terrace Bay Schreiber News. Please support community newspapers by purchasing a subscription.